hope your morning or early afternoon's going well for you. And wow, I look like a ghost today. It's pretty amazing. Today we're going to be making these baked apple dessert. I don't actually have a finished product, so I'm going to just show you on my computer. Get that reflection out of there. So this is just, it's baked apples with like a cinnamon and nut topping. And the great thing about this is because it's naturally gluten-free and paleo. So if you have guests coming in over the holidays, you may have people that don't really kind of agree with how you eat or may question it. And if you tell them you're going to make them a paleo brownie or something like that, they may be like, ugh, like automatically think it's going to be cardboard tasting and lackluster or something like that. Whereas if you make it something like this, it's like automatically and naturally gluten-free and paleo, but you don't have to say it, just make it. Your house is going to smell so good because of the cinnamon inside of this. And it's just going to be one of those things that you can make ahead and prep it all ahead and then put it in the oven while you're eating dinner. And it's a really good thing to have, especially if you have guests coming in over the holidays. You may not want to make it on Thanksgiving or Christmas itself because you may have traditional like dishes like pumpkin pie or something like that that you want to serve on those days. But on other days, this is a perfectly great option. So to make it, it's really easy. All you need are some like apples, and I already have some apples here. Preferably the red kind because the Granny Smith ones are a little too tart, but just these red ones. And I like to use this apple core, and you can see it's got a hole here, and it's just a little thing that you kind of stick in the apple, and it just pulls the core right out. You could also use a knife. It's perfectly acceptable to do as well. But all you do is just stick the apple core inside and then pull out the core. It is quite okay if you, get this out here, if you go all the way through the apple because you're going to be putting these on the bottom of the dish and some of the topping may fall through, but it's fine. You just scoop it out when you're done. And I actually like to make a couple little holes next to each other because you're going to be putting some nuts or seeds or something in here and you want to have a little pocket for all of that to go in. So you just do that with all the apples. I've done 2 of them and I'll just do this other one. And as you can see, like you just have a little bit of a hole here. So it's bigger than just that little small hole, but big enough so like some nuts and seeds and stuff can go in there. And then I've already melted, let me get the recipe up, just make sure I have the right numbers here. 2 tablespoons of butter with a 1/4 cup of honey. Now with options like with this, you could use ghee or you could also use coconut oil. But if you're gonna do coconut oil, I would also recommend putting in like a pinch of sea salt in there because typically butter is already salted and so you wanna have kind of that same little bit of taste. And so the sea salt kind of compensates for that. And then with honey, you can use either honey or maple syrup. So if you're making this for vegans, for example, or if you prefer maple syrup, use the coconut oil and then use maple syrup. And that will make this recipe completely vegan as well. So you have here the honey and butter, or your alternatives, and you're gonna mix in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You see I pre-measure this stuff now because if you watched my hot chocolate video a couple weeks ago, I was measuring it while I was doing this and I realized I can't do that at the same time. It's like walking and chewing gum at the same time because I made half the recipe by mistake. I used a 1/2 cup measurement instead of a 1 cup. So now I pre-measure so that I have it all properly done. And you're just going to want to stir this until it's all nice and uniform. And then you can mix in, it's a 1/2 cup of walnuts that you want chopped into like pretty small pieces so that they fit into the holes in the apples. If you want a nut-free version, you can use pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds or a mixture of both, and that makes a really delicious option as well. And so you just put the nuts, or you can use pecans too if you want as well. That's still a nut option, but I like the walnuts. But put your nuts or seeds, and then let's see, we got 3 tablespoons of raisins. Put that in here as well. And then you mix that all up with everything else. You get this nice gooey mess. And then you just take your spoon and kind of place it. Let's see if I can show this to you. I'm just placing them in the holes that we created earlier and just kind of pushing it down. And then I'm not going to do all of these for you, but when you're done, you might have a little bit left, so just kind of drizzle it and put it all over the top of it. And at this point, if you are making this ahead, you can just cover it and keep it in the refrigerator until you are ready to make it. Or you can go ahead and put this into an oven at 350 Fahrenheit. I would cover it with aluminum foil. And if you're not comfortable with aluminum foil touching your food, put a layer of parchment first and then aluminum foil over top of it. And then bake it in the oven. It's about 40 minutes or so. And at that time, your house is gonna smell so good. It's just gonna be like one of those like air fresheners or something just automatically going through your house. And yeah, and it just comes out. These bigger apples, you see these? Sometimes that is almost too big for one person, especially a kid. So you might wanna just split them in half. Or you can use the little smaller apples. Or if you have really hungry people, this will work well. But yeah, I think that's it. Crystal, I hope I answered your question with what's in the mixture, but in case I didn't, I'll go over it one more time. So the mixture was butter and honey and cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla extract, plus walnuts and raisins. And you can get the recipe, I've linked to it wherever that is again, the whole recipe on baked apple dessert on my website. And hopefully you can get all that information there. And before I go, I did want to mention to you, remember I have the 12 days of DIY gifts making party coming up starting Monday, November 27th. So if you want to join in on that, we're going to be making some really simple kind of, thanks Crystal, we're going to be making some really simple kind of beauty gifts and one food gift. So it's going to be like a chocolate peppermint lip scrub, a liquid hand soap, a peppermint body scrub, and we'll get a little bit harder with some like lip balms and stuff, but these are, you're gonna get an email every day and a Facebook Live with me showing you how to make them. You don't have to make them all, you don't have to make any, you can just watch and see which ones like float your boat or something like that too. But I just wanted to mention that the link for that, to sign up for that, is also wherever the link for the baked recipe, apple recipe is. So hopefully that explains everything, and yeah, and I will see you guys next week, all right? Have a great week. Bye.